The bright morning sun streamed through Admiral Kim's office window as she reviewed the latest reports. Earth had changed since the Valaxians arrived 6 months ago. Their sleek silver ships had descended from the skies above major cities worldwide, bringing promises of friendship and shared knowledge. Admiral Kim sipped her coffee, studying the holographic projection of the alien vessel. Something about it bothered her. The Valaxians claimed to be just a few centuries ahead of human technology, yet their ships moved in ways that defied Earth's understanding of physics. "Admiral, Commander Ryu is here to see you," her assistant announced through the intercom. Ryu entered with quick steps, carrying a data tablet. His usually calm face showed signs of worry. "What have you found?" Kim asked, gesturing for him to sit. "The energy readings from the Valaxian diplomatic vessel don't match their official specifications," Ryu explained, placing his tablet on the desk. "Their ship produces minimal visible output, but our deep space sensors detect energy signatures, 10 times what they admit to." Kim nodded slowly. This confirmed her suspicions. "They're hiding their true capabilities." "There's more," Ryu continued. "Yesterday, one of our deep space probes captured this before it malfunctioned." He pulled up grainy footage showing a brief flash near Jupiter's orbit, something massive briefly appearing before vanishing again. "Could be a technical glitch," Kim suggested, though she didn't believe it. 3 separate systems recorded it, Ryu said quietly. "Something's out there, Admiral, something big." That evening, Kim attended the formal reception welcoming the Valaxian ambassador Trell. The tall, blue-skinned alien moved gracefully through the crowded hall, engaging Earth's politicians with perfect translation devices that had supposedly taken their linguists decades to develop. "Admiral Kim," Ambassador Trell said, approaching with 2 crystal glasses. "Your planet's beverages are fascinating. This champagne creates such pleasant sensations." Kim accepted the glass with a polite smile. "I'm curious, Ambassador. Your vessels use ion propulsion, correct? Similar to our technology?" "Indeed." Trell's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Our advancement is modest compared to other spacefaring races. We believe in careful progress. Yet you crossed 20 light years. To reach us," Trell's upper eyes narrowed slightly. "We have refined what you might consider conventional physics, Admiral. Nothing particularly remarkable." Kim watched Trell rejoin the other diplomats, noting how the alien's hand trembled slightly. The lie was obvious to anyone paying attention, but Earth's leaders were too dazzled by first contact to notice. Back at Space Command headquarters, Kim authorized a secret project. While official channels continued diplomatic relations, she assembled a team of Earth's brightest minds away from public view. "I need answers," she told the small group gathered in the underground facility. "The Valaxians are hiding something, and I want to know what." Dr. Song, Earth's leading astrophysicist, spoke first. "We've been analyzing deep space scans from before first contact. There are anomalies dating back years, things moving against orbital patterns, gravitational fluctuations, with no visible cause. They've been watching us," said Professor Han, pushing her glasses up, "probably for decades." "But why hide their true technology level?" asked Ryu. "Why pretend to be less advanced?" Kim looked at the star map projected above the table. "When you approach a potentially dangerous animal, you move slowly and appear non-threatening. You don't show your weapons until you've assessed the threat." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. 2 weeks later, Lieutenant Moon from Deep Space Monitoring burst into Kim's office without announcement. "Admiral, we found something," he said, his voice tight with urgency. "We modified our telescopes based on Dr. Song's theories about how they might be hiding. Look." The images he displayed showed faint outlines, hundreds of them, positioned throughout the solar system, massive ships nearly invisible to conventional detection. "They're everywhere," Kim whispered. "An entire fleet." That night, when Ambassador Trell came for their weekly meeting, Kim smiled and discussed cultural exchange programs. She asked simple questions about Valaxian art and literature. Not once did she mention the hidden armada surrounding Earth. As the ambassador left, Kim made a secure call to her team. "Deploy Operation Flashlight. We need to see exactly what we're dealing with. The Valaxians had made one critical mistake. They had judged humanity by its apparent technological level rather than its potential. They hadn't considered that humans, when suspicious, became remarkably resourceful. As Kim watched the ambassador's shuttle rise into the evening sky, she thought about chess, how the best players let their opponents believe they held the advantage, right until the moment they revealed their true strategy. "Your move," Kim whispered to the departing lights. Lieutenant Commander Park stood in the dimly lit room surrounded by holographic displays. For 3 weeks straight, his team had worked, around the clock, piecing together what might be the most important puzzle in human history. "Run it again," Park said to his assistant, who nodded and restarted the simulation. The solar system appeared before them. The sun, planets, and thousands of tracked objects from asteroids to space debris. What looked like random movement to the untrained eye was revealing something extraordinary to Park's team. Dr. June, their quantum mathematics expert, pointed to several points beyond Mars. There, and there, and there. The gravitational readings show tiny inconsistencies. Park nodded. "Show me the pattern recognition results." New lines appeared in the projection, connecting various points where space seemed empty, but measurements showed something was affecting nearby objects. The lines formed geometric shapes that slowly shifted over time in perfect synchronization. "No natural phenomenon moves like this," Dr. June said quietly. "These are coordinated positions." Analyst Min, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. "I've compared the movements with tactical formations from Earth's military history. This matches a standard containment pattern, like ships blockading a port." The room fell silent. As everyone absorbed this information, Park turned to the youngest member of their team, Lee, a programming prodigy who had been recruited straight from university. "What about your tracking algorithm?" Lee tapped on his tablet and the hologram shifted. Now faint outlines appeared where the gravitational anomalies had been detected. "By calculating the light distortion and gravity effects, we can estimate their shapes and sizes." The outlines were massive, some nearly a kilometer long, and there were hundreds of them. "Warships," Park said simply. "A hidden fleet surrounding Earth." Back in her office, Admiral Kim reviewed their findings with growing concern. "How did you confirm these aren't natural phenomena?" Park showed her the compiled data. "We've tracked their movements for 3 weeks. They adjust position with perfect precision, sometimes moving against gravitational pull without any visible propulsion signature, and they respond to each other's positions in coordinated patterns." "Could our instruments be wrong?" Kim asked, though she already knew the answer. "We thought of that," Park said. "So we built new ones that work on different principles. The results match." Kim studied the display showing the estimated locations of the hidden vessels. "They've surrounded us completely." "Yes, Admiral. But there's something else you should see." Park showed her footage from the last Valaxian diplomatic mission to the Yi moon. His team had analyzed the landing sequence frame by frame. During one brief moment as the ship passed through a shadow, its hull seemed to shimmer in a particular way. "We believe their ships use a form of gravitational lensing to bend light around them," Park explained. "It's why we can't see the fleet with regular telescopes. But the effect isn't perfect. It creates tiny distortions we can detect with the right equipment." "And you've developed this equipment?" Kim asked. "Dr. Lee has modified our new deep space telescope array. If we position them correctly, we should be able to see the entire fleet." Kim made her decision. "Do it, but maintain absolute secrecy. If the Valaxians realize we've discovered them..." The next day, Park sat in a small cafe far from headquarters waiting. A woman in a simple blue dress sat down across from him. "Nice weather?" she said in the prearranged greeting. "Good for stargazing," Park replied, confirming his identity. The woman, Agent Shin from Earth Intelligence, slid a small device across the table. "Valaxian communications we intercepted. It's encrypted, but maybe your team can make something of it." Later that night, Park's team gathered around as their linguistics expert, Jin, worked on the intercepted message. I've identified patterns, Jin said after hours of analysis. It's definitely communications between their ships. And look at this. She highlighted a recurring segment in the data. This appears exactly when our probes pass near Jupiter. They're tracking our movements. Park contacted Admiral Kim immediately. They're watching our routine mission launches. If we deploy the modified telescopes openly, they'll know we're looking for them. Kim thought for a moment. Then we hide our real purpose. Announce a scientific mission to study Jupiter's moons. Hide the new telescopes among standard equipment. 2 weeks later, Operation Flashlight's disguised telescopes reached their destination. As they activated, Park and his team held their breath. The images that came back confirmed their worst fears. Where empty space should have been, massive ships hung in perfect formation. A silent armada waiting just beyond human sight. Send everything to Admiral Kim, Park ordered, and begin calculating their complete deployment pattern. As the data came in, Park realized the Valaxians hadn't just surrounded Earth. They had positioned themselves to intercept any attempt to leave the solar system. Humanity was effectively caged. The question now wasn't whether the aliens were hostile, but what their timetable was, and whether Earth could find a way to counter a force they couldn't match in numbers or technology. Park looked at the star, chart showing Earth surrounded by enemy vessels, and remembered an old military saying, knowing the enemy's position was the first step to victory. Dr. Lee wiped sweat from her brow as she made final adjustments to the quantum telescope array. The cramped lab module, hidden within a standard Jupiter research vessel, wasn't designed for the sensitive equipment they had smuggled aboard. Time check, she called to her assistant. T-minus 20 minutes until optimal positioning, he replied, eyes fixed on the trajectory calculations. Operation Flashlight was Admiral Kim's greatest gamble. If the Valaxians discovered their true intentions, the consequences would be immediate and possibly catastrophic. Earth had launched 5 research vessels toward Jupiter's moons, each carrying hidden components that would form the most advanced detection system humans had ever built. Lee's hands trembled slightly as she calibrated the final lens. Her discovery, 3 weeks ago, that gravitational lensing created unique quantum signatures, had made this mission possible. The Valaxians could bend light around their ships, but they couldn't hide the fundamental physics that made their technology work. All stations report ready, the ship's captain announced over the intercom. Beginning deployment sequence. Lee felt the slight vibration as the vessel's mechanical arms extended the telescope components into space. 4 other ships were doing the same at precisely calculated positions around Jupiter's orbit. Components deployed. Beginning calibration sequence, Lee said, watching the telemetry data on her screen. For the next hour, the 5 separate arrays aligned their sensors into a single massive telescope capable of detecting the quantum signatures of cloaked vessels. If it worked, they would see what no human was meant to see, the true extent of the Valaxian fleet. We're getting interference, one of the technicians reported. Something's disrupting the signal. Lee moved quickly to his station. Is it the Valaxians? No, it's coming from Jupiter itself. The radiation belt is stronger than our models predicted, Lee thought quickly. Adjust the frequency to compensate. We only need a few minutes of clear data. Back on Earth, Admiral Kim paced her secure command center. The operation had been meticulously planned, but too many things could go wrong. If the Valaxians detected the true purpose of their research mission, they might decide to act before humanity could prepare any defense. Her secure phone buzzed. Admiral, the Valaxian ambassador is requesting an urgent meeting, her aide reported. Kim's heart raced. When? Now. Their shuttle just landed at headquarters. Stall them, Kim ordered. Say I'm in transit. I need at least an hour. Had they been discovered, or was this a routine diplomatic matter? Kim couldn't afford to assume the latter. She contacted Operation Flashlight's command ship. Status report? Alignment at 70% and climbing, came Commander Park's voice. We need another 40 minutes for full coverage. You may have less. Work faster. Near Jupiter, Lee's team raced against time. The telescope array was functioning, but the data was corrupted by Jupiter's radiation. I need more power to the filtering. Systems, Lee demanded. We're already at maximum, her assistant replied. Any more and we'll trigger power allocation alerts that the Valaxians might detect. Lee stared at the problem, mind racing. Then she had an idea. Redirect power from life support. We can last 30 minutes on emergency systems. That's against safety protocols. Do it, Lee insisted. This is more important than protocol. As the temperature in the lab began to drop and the lights dimmed, the telescope array received the additional power it needed. The data stream cleared. It's working, Lee whispered, watching as the first images came through. The computer display showed Jupiter and its moons, but around them, where empty space should have been, faint outlines appeared, hundreds of them. As the system enhanced the images, the outlines took shape. Massive vessels arranged in precise formations, some bigger than anything humans had ever built. They're everywhere, Lee's assistant said in awe. How long have they been watching us? Lee quickly directed the array to scan the entire solar system. More ships appeared, near Saturn, near Mars, and even in Earth's orbit, hiding in plain sight. Send everything to Admiral Kim, Lee ordered, and begin full-spectrum analysis of their propulsion signatures. On Earth, Kim was about to meet with the Valaxian ambassador when the first images arrived on her secure tablet. She glanced at them and fought to keep her expression neutral. The Valaxians hadn't just sent a few scout ships. They had deployed what appeared to be their entire fleet, a force that could overwhelm Earth's defenses in minutes. Ambassador Trell entered the room with two aides. Admiral Kim, we detected unusual energy signatures near Jupiter. Would you explain these activities? Kim smiled politely. Simple research, Ambassador. Jupiter's radiation belts fascinate our scientists. Trell's four eyes blinked in sequence. The energy patterns are consistent with advanced scanning technology. Perhaps your sensors are misinterpreting our research equipment, Kim suggested calmly. I'd be happy to provide technical specifications. As she spoke, Kim received a message. Full system scan complete. Their fleet could reach Earth in less than 6 hours at maximum speed. Kim maintained her diplomatic smile, but her mind raced with the implications. The Valaxians could strike at any moment, but they hadn't yet, which meant they either weren't ready or were waiting for something. Either way, Operation Flashlight had given humanity what it needed most. Knowledge of the threat they faced. Now they needed a plan to counter it. Dr. Choi had never imagined his theoretical work on gravitational waves would become Earth's last hope. For years, his colleagues had called his ideas impossible. Now they worked beside him in the underground facility, racing against time. Run the simulation again, Choi told his team, adjusting variables on his display. The holographic projection showed waves rippling through space, disrupting the precise gravitational fields that the Valaxian ships used for their cloaking technology. 3 days had passed since Operation Flashlight revealed the hidden fleet. 3 days of frantic work while Admiral Kim kept the Valaxians distracted with diplomatic talks. The wave pattern collapses after 68% coverage, reported Dr. Yoon, shaking her head. We can't maintain the field strength across such a large area. Choi paced the lab, mind racing. The principle was sound. They could generate gravitational waves that would interfere with the aliens' stealth technology. But generating enough power to affect hundreds of ships across the solar system seemed impossible. A young researcher named Jin looked up from her workstation. What if we don't need to generate all the power ourselves? Everyone turned to her. The Valaxians maintain their cloaking field through precise gravitational calibration, Jin explained. What if we just create a disruption that cascades through their own network, like knocking over the first domino? Choi's eyes widened. A resonance effect. Exactly, Jin nodded eagerly. Their ships are positioned in perfect geometric patterns. If we target the right frequencies, we could use their own formation against them. Choi finished, already recalculating. Their perfect positioning becomes their weakness. Within hours, the concept evolved into a plan. Earth would use its network of particle accelerators, reconfigured, to generate specific gravitational pulses. The pulses would target key points in the Valaxian formation, creating a cascade effect that would disrupt their entire cloaking system. Admiral Kim reviewed the proposal in her office with Commander Park and Dr. Choi explaining the science. "So this won't harm their ships?" Kim asked. "No," Choi replied. "It only disrupts their stealth technology. They'll become visible to everyone, not just our special telescopes." "But there's a side effect," Park added. "The disruption will temporarily affect their ability to maintain perfect formation. If they don't react quickly enough, their ships could collide," Kim finished. "Giving us leverage." "Yes," Choi nodded. "They'll need to power up their main engines to stabilize, revealing their true capabilities to everyone on Earth." Kim stood and walked to the window, looking at the night sky. Somewhere up there, invisible to the naked eye, hundreds of alien warships were watching. "How long to prepare this system?" she asked. 72 hours to reconfigure the global accelerator network," Choi answered. "Less if we get more resources." "You'll have whatever you need," Kim promised. "But work quietly. We can't tip them off." The next 3 days saw frantic but carefully concealed activity. Scientists and engineers worldwide were brought into secure facilities and briefed on their specific tasks, most not knowing the full scope of what they were building. The Valaxian ambassador requested 2 more meetings, each time probing for information about Earth's unusual energy signatures. Kim maintained the facade of normal diplomatic relations while buying time. On the final night before the system would be ready, Choi couldn't sleep. He walked through the underground lab, checking calculations one last time. The plan relied on precise timing. All of Earth's major particle accelerators would need to fire simultaneously, creating a gravitational pulse at exactly the right frequency. "Doubting your work?" came a voice. Jin stood in the doorway, looking as tired as he felt. "I've spent my career studying theoretical physics," Choi said quietly. "Tomorrow we find out if my theories work in practice. With the fate of our planet at stake." Jin joined him at the main console. "The math is sound, the simulations work." "Simulations aren't reality," Choi sighed, "and we only get one chance." Morning came, and operation centers worldwide prepared for synchronization. Admiral Kim took position in the main command center, with direct lines to every major facility involved. "All systems report ready," Park announced, monitoring the global network. "Begin final countdown," Kim ordered, "and prepare the message for the Valaxian fleet. The moment their cloaking fails, I want them to know we can see them." As technicians counted down, Choi closed his eyes briefly. His entire career had led to this moment, where human ingenuity would either save them or fail spectacularly. 3, 2, 1, initiate. Across the planet, massive accelerators fired in perfect synchronization. Power grids dimmed momentarily as energy surged through the system. For a breathless moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the first reports came in from deep space monitoring stations. Contact. Visual confirmation of unidentified vessels near Jupiter. Multiple contacts appearing near Saturn. Objects materializing in Earth orbit. On the main screen, sensors showed hundreds of massive ships suddenly appearing throughout the solar system, their stealth technology disrupted by the gravitational wave that now cascaded through their formation. Choi watched in amazement as his theory became reality. Humanity had just changed the rules of a game they weren't supposed to know they were playing. Admiral Kim stepped forward. "Open broadcast channels to all detected vessels. It's time to let them know the deception is over." Admiral Kim stood straight back before the communication array, aware that history turned on this moment. Around her, the command center hummed with tense energy as officers tracked hundreds of now visible Valaxian warships throughout the solar system. "Channel open," the communications officer announced. "Broadcasting on all frequencies we've detected. Their ships using." Kim drew a deep breath. "This is Admiral Kim of United Earth Space Command. Your fleet has been exposed. We are now broadcasting your positions to every telescope and sensor array in our system." On the main display, The Valaxian ships were struggling to maintain formation. The gravitational pulse had not only revealed them, but also disrupted their carefully coordinated positioning. Several vessels near Jupiter appeared to be taking emergency evasive actions to avoid collisions. We have also prepared a second gravitational weapon that can disrupt your ship's internal systems, Kim continued, her voice measured and calm despite the stakes. We don't seek conflict, but we will not be conquered or deceived. Silence followed her transmission. The command center staff waited, barely breathing. Admiral, whispered Park, who stood beside her. Their ships are powering up weapon systems. Kim nodded but didn't allow her expression to change. This was the most dangerous moment, when the Valaxians might choose to strike rather than negotiate, believing their advantage lost. Signal coming in, the communications officer announced. It's their high commander. The main screen changed to show a Valaxian with deep blue skin and ceremonial markings across their face. 4 eyes blinked in a pattern that humans had learned indicated surprise. This is High Commander Xylo of the Valaxian Confederation. The translator rendered a voice that sounded genuinely shaken. How have you detected our presence? Your species shouldn't have developed this capability for at least another century. Kim allowed herself a small smile. You underestimated human ingenuity, Commander. When faced with threats, we tend to innovate rapidly. We meant no hostile action, Xylo insisted. Our fleet is positioned for observation only. 700. Warships aren't necessary for observation, Kim countered. Your diplomatic mission presented a false picture of your technological capabilities while you surrounded our planet with weapons. On Earth, we call that preparation for conquest. The Valaxian commander's upper eyes narrowed. If conquest was our goal, we could have achieved it before you detected us. Perhaps, Kim acknowledged. Or perhaps you wanted certain conditions met first. Regardless, the situation has changed. Your ships are visible to every human telescope. Now, your tactical advantage is lost. You wish us to withdraw? Xylo asked. I wish for honest negotiations, Kim replied. Starting with the truth about your intentions and capabilities. Remove the majority of your fleet from our solar system, as a show of good faith. Leave only those vessels necessary for actual diplomatic relations. The commander was silent for a long moment, 4 eyes blinking rapidly as they likely consulted with others off-screen. We will withdraw to the edge of your system to consider your proposal, Xylo finally said. But understand this. We are not the only power in the galaxy with interest in your world. Others may be less patient. Then perhaps we should discuss true alliance rather than veiled threats, Kim suggested. One based on mutual respect, not deception. After the transmission ended, the command center erupted in controlled activity. Officers tracked the Valaxian ships as they began moving away from Earth, their massive engines now operating openly. Dr. Choi entered the command center, looking exhausted but elated. It worked even better than we hoped. Their entire stealth network collapsed when we triggered the resonance cascade. Will they be able to restore it? Kim asked. Not without completely reconfiguring their formation, Choi explained. And now that we know how it works, we can detect it much more easily. Park approached with a data tablet. Reports from observatories worldwide, Admiral. Civilians are seeing the ships too. The news is spreading quickly. Kim nodded. This had been inevitable. The revelation that Earth was not alone and had been under surveillance by a vastly superior force. But perhaps it was better this way. Humanity needed to understand the true situation they faced. 3 days later, a single Valaxian vessel returned to Earth orbit. Unlike the previous diplomatic ships, this one made no attempt to hide its advanced technology. A new ambassador requested permission to land and begin genuine negotiations. In the briefing room, Kim prepared her team for the meeting. They're coming back with humility, but don't be fooled. The Valaxians still possess technology far beyond ours. They're retreating strategically, not surrendering. But we've shown them we can't be easily conquered, Park noted. And that's changed everything, Kim agreed. They now see us as potential allies, rather than subjects. There are other forces in the galaxy, just as the commander hinted. The Valaxians may need friends as much as we do. As the new Valaxian shuttle descended toward Earth, news broadcasts worldwide showed its approach. Humanity watched collectively, now aware that the universe was more crowded and more dangerous than they had imagined. But they also knew something else. When pushed, humans could achieve the impossible. They had uncovered a hidden fleet and forced a vastly superior power to negotiate honestly. It was just the first move in a much larger game, but humanity had proven they could play. Admiral Kim watched the approaching shuttle and allowed herself a moment of pride. Earth's future remained uncertain, but for the first time, they would face that future with their eyes fully open.